Hi, I'm Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers, here with attorney Alexander Palamara. And Alex, we're going to talk about one of your resolved cases. This one's against Reliance Standard, and we regularly do these videos where we talk about cases that we've successfully resolved on behalf of claimants so that people can kind of relate to the similar situation if their claim has been denied. Hopefully get some tips from this video as well as to how they can handle their claim and hopefully prevent a denial in the future. So let's start with the background of this particular claim against Reliance Standard.
So this case is kind of unique because for lack of a better term, it was pretty much the easiest court victory we've had to date. But it kind of goes back a little bit before that. Our client worked for a very well-known accounting company in Wyoming. He actually worked as the employee benefits manager. So it's kind of unique that he's making a disability insurance claim under a policy that he helped choose with his employer. I mean, he was part of the group that decided, oh, we'll use Reliance Standard for our long-term disability insurance coverage. And after working for about 15 years at this employer, he became sick, very ill with a very severe virus, led to crippling fatigue and brain fog and whatnot. And he actually got better, went back to work, worked for a few more, maybe about a year or so. But things just progressed and got worse, kept on going to the doctor, figuring out what the heck is going on. It got to the point that he could no longer physically or even cognitively perform the requirements of his own job, and he stopped working again and filed this claim for disability insurance benefits under the policy that he helped choose. Thankfully, initially, Reliance Standard approved this claim, and they paid for about 14 months or so, and then out of nowhere, he receives a denial letter, and that's when he comes to us.
Did he ever have a diagnosis?
Various diagnoses, but essentially, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm trying to forget the post-virus illness name of the virus that he had, but he just had crippling fatigue and cognitive issues. It was all supported by his medical records, his treating providers, and even a neuropsychological evaluation all showed that this guy had cognitive issues, unable to do his job, and his complaints went on for years, even before he stopped working again.
You mentioned the neuropsychological evaluation. What is that, and why is it important when you're talking about a claimant who has cognitive difficulties?
Because if you speak to somebody, it's hard to know if somebody actually has cognitive difficulties. It varies. You could be talking to someone and they could be talking totally normal to you, but you don't realize the struggle they're going through, or you don't realize the fact that just because they can have a normal conversation doesn't mean they can perform a job that has cognitive requirements, because it goes above and beyond just having a normal conversation. It goes beyond like using your brain 8 hours a day and making high-level cognitive decisions, for what the requirements of your job is. So what that testing does, it shows that it kind of, confirms that this person is testing at a level lower than they should be testing. So we actually do them not for a lot of cases, for a good amount of cases. Whenever there's a cognitive issue, we try to utilize it to show proof of this cognitive inability of our clients to perform their job. But lo and behold here, out of nowhere, Reliance Standard just denies his claim after about 14 months of benefits. And I took a look at the denial letter after this person called us, and it was basically a 3-page denial letter, but most of it is just summarizing the policy language. And it basically comes down to about 3 paragraphs. And the paragraphs were kind of interesting because it didn't rely upon a quote-unquote independent physician reviewer. It didn't rely upon a in-house nurse review or anything like that. All it really did is summarize a few of the medical records, and it kind of highlighted the medical records where they said, maybe where the doctor wrote normal for that day, or cognitive abilities intact, and they ran with it, even though the rest of the records were overwhelmingly in support of this guy's claim. There's always some records where a doctor just writes normal, or check marks the box that says normal, and they run with it and deny the claim.
So they did what's called a cherry picking of the records. Can you explain what that is?
What I'm describing, they ignore so much. The medical records could be 1,000 pages, and they highlight, and a typical medical record is anywhere from like 3 to 10 pages. And it could be 10 pages long, and in there the doctor might use the word normal in describing the physical appearance of someone, or maybe normal conversation, or whatever it is. They use the word normal, and the insurance company sees the word normal. This guy is normal. He's ready to return to work, and it's ridiculous.
Do you find that Reliance Standard has a pattern or behavior where they're looking for information that doesn't support the claim as opposed to the information that would support the claim?
Not only do they do it, most disability insurance companies do it because they don't want to pay benefits. So they're going to ignore or put their head in the sand when there's overwhelming information that supports someone's claim, and they're going to see the word normal or see the word, whatever words, and they utilize it, they just jump on it, and it's a crime, it really is.
But Well, I wish it was a crime, but I know you're saying as an expression. Unfortunately, it's
Not a crime.
It's not a crime because they
Legal
have
sense.
discretion to do it. But what bothers me a lot is that, and this is getting a little technical, is that under ERISA, the company acts as the fiduciary. And when you hear this word fiduciary, you're supposed to have a fiduciary obligation to look out for the plan participants.
Correct.
So if Reliance Standard is acting as the fiduciary and they're evaluating and interpreting the terms of the plan as the fiduciary to the policy holders, why are they allowed to have a modus operandi, a behavior of which we're going to look for information that doesn't support your claim as opposed to an attitude of, let me look for the information that does support your claim?
Well, the ERISA laws really protect them, and they take advantage of the laws that protect them, and they do, what's not in the best interest of their, of their fiduciaries, of their claimants, of the people covered in their policy. And it's sad. It really is sad that they got to this point where they're in the business of making money rather than business of helping people. An insurance company, you should be there to help people, and they're not in a lot of times. And this is one example of such. And the claim even gets even crazier because, as soon as the client comes to us, I order a copy of the claim file. When I get a copy of the claim file, the first thing I'm looking for are the reviews that the insurance company is relying upon. I thought to myself, maybe this denial letter, whoever wrote the denial letter is new, didn't know that they should cite to the actual review they're relying upon. But I went through the 1,300 pages of the claim file, and guess how many reviews I found? One, it was from when they initially approved the claim. So they never did an updated review to deny this claim. They never had even an internal nurse do a review to deny the claim. I guess it was just the claims handler, the claims analyst who said, I'm going to do my own review and highlight the normal words in there and then deny this claim. This claim should never have been denied. There was no medical support to deny this claim whatsoever.
But
So
Alex,
ridiculous.
that sounds insane because the person who reviewed the claim had no medical background or training whatsoever. And so Reliance Standard, this person just decided, I'm just going to deny the claim without any reasonable basis. It's horrible that Reliance Standard allows that to happen. Not the first time we've seen it. It's not the norm necessarily for Reliance Standard, but it should never happen. You know what that comes down to? Being a big company with poor management. 100%. And just giving the discretion to a claims person who said, oh, they probably have a quota. I'm not saying we know about it, but this particular month I need to deny X amount of claims. And that's one of the reasons why they did it. Not only that, what's so disgusting about it is that this was a high wage earner.
100%.
That you were representing, making 6 figures plus, and here are just saying, oh, we just denied your claim, no basis, and good luck feeding your family and paying for your medical bills and everything else next month. We had no real reason. I think you can go back to work and you're faking.
The crazy part is it gets worse. So this story even gets even worse than this. So then I get the claim file, review it, realize there's no justification. I get updated medical records from our clients' treating providers. I get a copy of the Social Security disability claim file because Social Security had proved this guy's claim as well. So we have a third-party entity doing a review of the same medical records that Reliance Standard has and approving this claim. So I get all these files together. I get updated testing done on my client, put together an appeal. I thought to myself, it's a great appeal. I look like a hero here. It's going to be a quick approval, reapproval. So we file the appeal in early January of 2021. Now, the ERISA laws gives the insurance companies 45 days to render a decision on the appeal. Of course, the ERISA laws also give them an additional 45 days that they can take. So they have kind of a total of 90 days. Unless there's extenuating circumstances, they have about 90 days to render a decision on an appeal. We file the appeal. A month goes by, no response, no nothing. So what do we start doing? Start sending correspondence saying, hey, listen, we filed this appeal a month ago, leaving voicemails, numerous calls. No one's calling us back. No one's responding to any correspondence whatsoever. So we get to day 90, and I say to myself, what the heck is going on here? Not only did they do a terrible job at denying this claim, they're not even responding to our appeals. Like, what is going on in Reliance Standard? So I make a few more phone calls. I talk to my client. I say, listen, I'm about ready to file this lawsuit. I think we can timely file this lawsuit. It's been over 90 days. I go, why don't we just give a couple more calls to Reliance Standard because maybe they're just going to reinstate this claim, realizing that they've messed up big time. Because if we file a lawsuit, it could be a few months or up to a year and a half until we get a decision by a judge. So
right, it's not that you didn't want to be aggressive by not filing a lawsuit. You wanted to be practical for the client to say that if I can get you paid in the next week or 2 weeks as opposed to filing a lawsuit, which they can string out for 6 months to 18 months, let's get it done now, even though I know right now we'll win your lawsuit. But it's going to take 18 months. Can you go 18 months without benefits? No, we don't want to. If we can get it done next 2 weeks, let's do it. So anyhow, so you're being cautious, not, you know.
I'm not scared. I just want to get my client paid as quickly as possible.
Right.
So we get to day 104. They're still not returning additional calls. So I say to myself, what the heck? We need to file this lawsuit. My client's gun-ho saying, let's file this lawsuit. I file the lawsuit, and unfortunately, the insurance company has 21 days to file their answer. They get an extension of time from the judge. So 21 days turns into like 30 or 40 days to file their answer. And so now we're in June. July, I talked to the insurance company's attorney, and I say to them, like, you guys need to take a look at this. Your client, they're an independent law firm.
Yeah.
So your client messed up here. We're going to win this one. She goes, let me talk to my client. I'll get back to you. At first, they go, is he interested in settling? Basically taking a lump sum settlement. I go, possibly, but you're going to pay a high percentage of the value of this case. And then I said the other alternative is to settle the lawsuit now by putting him back on claim. And it did take 4 months from the time that we filed the lawsuit, but fortunately, their attorney convinced Reliance Standard that you guys messed up here significantly, and they put our client back on claim. So when I said it earlier, this is pretty much the easiest law victory we've had in a long time. It really is, because if they didn't agree to put him back on claim, like you said, it would have taken 12 to 18 months to win this lawsuit, just because courts run slow. You don't have a trial date for probably 18 months after you file the lawsuit. Motion for summary judgment would not be due for a certain amount of time, and then they have a time to respond and reply to our motions and whatnot. And then ultimately, the judge is going to render a decision, but it might not be 3 to 5 months after you file those motions.
But what really happened here is, first of all, Reliance Standard knows our firm knows we'll pound them into the ground on whatever we do. So that was great support going for the client. The other thing was, you had written a fantastic appeal, which had all the evidence. They dropped the ball again. The only person that had a brain once this claim got looked at was the defense lawyer on the other side, who doesn't work for Reliance Standard, who's a defense attorney that we've had many cases with other companies, who's highly skilled and qualified to evaluate this claim, and said to Reliance Standard, you guys are a bunch of dumbasses. You dropped the ball on this. You screwed it up completely. You better pay, because not only are you going to end up paying, you're going to end up paying Dell and Shaper's fees as well. You're going to pay interest. And you're doing wrong to a human being who's waiting to get paid.
Right.
So,
with a family, and he was a high income earner, like you said. The monthly benefit's a high amount, and he's sitting there for the last, since July of 2020, so, the last year, almost a year and a half now, with no income coming in through his family.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It's unfortunate that it's things we've seen from Reliance Standard. They're one of the, not one of my favorites when people call, just because we see this behavior, and they got some work to do over there to straighten themselves out and hire some more qualified people, get some better level.
Or better training, at least.
Yeah, better training, more qualified upper manager. Unless their upper management's philosophy is, let's just screw everybody because ERISA laws are in our favor. We'll deny, delay, and hopefully force them to try to do some work, which will then screw up their claim completely, because the people have to survive, so they're stuck in a catch-22. And then later on, we'll offer them some money. The difference between our law firm and all the others out there, and I shouldn't say all the others, but many of the others, is they'll file a lawsuit. Reliance Standard will throw out their nonsense offer, which is 10 cents on the dollar, and a lot of other law firms just force their clients to settle, and the clients are so desperate at that point, they take it. But that's not the model that we're going to go. We're going to fight to the end and try to do whatever we can to get the most amount of money for the client, no matter how long it takes. And hopefully the clients have the staying power to hang on for that ride.
I tell my clients that we're the navigators, they're the pilots. Sometimes you have to make a tough decision and say, listen, the odds are not good. You might have to take a settlement for less than you thought. But sometimes we say to ourselves, listen, you need to go all the way to the end, because this is a case that you're going to win. But ultimately it's up to our clients to make the decision. They're the pilots, we're the navigators, but we'll help them make the right decision for their case.
Right. I just know me personally, and sometimes I have to hold myself back because I don't want to pound them on every case.
For
but
sure.
Obviously we'll do what's in the best interest of the client. So if you have a Reliance Standard long-term disability policy, no matter where you live in the country, we're always going to offer you a free consultation. Feel free to call Alex, myself, any of our long-term disability attorneys, and we'll let you know right away how we can assist you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.